Hi everyone. Now we're going to talk about the Wenchuan Earthquake, which occurred on May 12, 2008. It has a magnitude of 7.9. What a huge earthquake! It is the deadliest earthquake to hit China since the 1976 Tangshan earthquake, and it is the 18th deadliest earthquake of all time. To begin, let's get started on some basic information and causes of the earthquake. Wenchuan is located in Sichuan Province, China. Wenchuan and its surroundings have historically been susceptible to large earthquakes. The earthquake was caused by the collision of the Indian, Australian, and Eurasian plates along the 249-kilometer-long Longmenshan Fault, a stress fault in which the stresses produced by the northward moving Indian-Australian plate shifted a portion of the plateau of Tibet eastward. Compressional forces brought on by this shift sheared the ground in two locations along the fault, thrusting the ground upward by approximately 9 meters in some places. Numerous aftershocks occurred in the days, months, and years that followed, including a magnitude 6.0 aftershock on May the 25th, only 13 days after the main shock, which caused additional casualties and damage, and a magnitude 5.0 aftershock that struck Chengdu, which is also located in Sichuan Province, in May 2010. The Longmenshan Fault runs southwest to northeast along the eastern side of the Longmenshan Mountains and separates the plateau of Tibet from the flat Sichuan Basin. Now we are looking at a photo taken just a few days after the earthquake. You can see that it really caused huge damage to Wenchuan. This shallow earthquake occurred on relatively stiff soil, and as such, large seismic waves reached the surface and propagated rapidly without losing much energy, resulting in a rupture length of more than 200 kilometers. This event is classified as an X on the modified Mercalli intensity scale, indicating violent shaking and heavy damage. Okay, now let's take a look at the human impact of the earthquake. Here's a picture of a little girl buried in a collapsed structure. What a poor girl. Close to 90,000 people were classified either as fatalities or as unaccounted for. Between 5 to 11 million people became homeless. 374,000 people were injured. More than 4 million people were displaced. The reconstruction cost alone, not including any financial losses, is estimated at over $150 billion. The number of collapsed or seriously damaged structures exceeds 25 million. Many schools and hospitals collapsed in this earthquake. The death toll in these structures exceeded 10,000, and more than 7,000 classrooms were damaged, which made me feel very depressed, since Wenchuan's education resources were actually poor compared with other provinces in China at that time. Now, let's focus on something geological. You may ask, what about the environmental impact of the event? Was the landscape or climate changed? Of course, the earthquake caused regional effects on the water system. These pictures from China Daily show severe landslides caused by the earthquake. Landslides and rock avalanches triggered by the Wenchuan earthquake produced 257 landslide dams, mainly situated along the eastern boundary of the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau, where rivers descend approximately 3,000 meters into the Sichuan Basin. The largest of these dams blocked the Tongkou River at Tangjiashan. The blockage, consisting of 20 million cubic meters of landslide debris, impounded a lake with a projected maximum volume of 300 million cubic meters, potentially inundating 8.92 square kilometers of terrain. Its creation during the rainy season and the possibility of an uncontrolled release posed a serious, impending threat to at least 1.3 million people downstream that could add substantially to the total of 69,200 individuals directly killed by the earthquake. Last but not least, let's reflect on this earthquake. What makes it so deadly, regardless of all the geological causes? China's rapid economic growth over the past 3 decades has resulted in major industrial development, population growth, and increased building construction in the affected area. Unfortunately, not all the commercial and residential buildings were designed, detailed, or constructed to provide adequate life safety and property protection, although the affected area has historically been susceptible to large earthquakes. Nearly all the collapsed buildings in the earthquake were constructed with very little seismic resistance, ductility, or redundancy. So, what should we learn from this deadly earthquake? One issue that was immediately obvious from surveys of damage in the Sichuan region was that, as far as the building structures were concerned, there were no new technical lessons to be learned for structural purposes, and the earthquake did not produce any unexpected results. The type of damage observed has been seen in many parts of the world, such as California and Japan. Unreinforced masonry bearing walls, non-ductile reinforced concrete moment frames, questionable load piles, lack of diaphragms, poor detailing, and undesirable structural configurations all contributed to the observed damage. It's the structural engineering professionals' responsibility to educate the public and officials about potential future events and, in particular, vulnerability associated with unreinforced masonry and non-ductile reinforced concrete buildings. What's more, international communities and structural engineers must share their knowledge, developing and building on lessons learned from past experience, and help increase awareness of earthquake risks. A comprehensive approach is needed, incorporating input from all stakeholders, including structural engineers, government officials, owners, and risk management specialists. Alright, that's all. Thanks for watching and listening. I hope that my presentation gives you some detailed information you want on the Wenchuan earthquake.